Hey everybody, welcome to the show. I'm Ryan.
And I'm Ben.
This is where we talk about Commander. Or Jank, it's our policy. We only have one rule. What rule is that, Benjamin?
No experts allowed.
No fucking experts allowed. You should change the channel name to No Fucking Experts Allowed.
18 plus only.
18. Well, it's already 18 plus. I say fuck so much on here. It's not even funny.
Yep, we said it in the first 30 seconds.
I mean, you know, now it is. Welcome back, kids. Welcome to the show, the shit show. We are here today to have our second emergency meeting since starting the podcast because we're horrible and we don't do podcasty episodes all that often. And we have already gotten a new band list.
And updated on the Unbanned.
Oh, technically, yeah, it was an unbanning, but like, you know, it's still technically like a ban list update.
Okay, stop being technically expert. You'll have to leave the room.
That's true. I keep doing that. I'm shit at this. I'm horrible at this game. Anyway, Wizards has done the thing and has done another ruling. Their first real official ruling, I guess, because the last ban cards thing was the removal of the big three. The triad, the holy triad, as it were.
Does now do not count?
Not really. Everybody saw that coming.
Yeah.
But no, we've had some unbannings happen, and they got a bunch of cards. Like, so what, 14 cards got taken off of the ban list?
I'll pull up the exact
something happened where a bunch of cards got taken off of the ban list.
3, 4, 5.
Total of 5. Wow, I was way off. Anyway. Oh no, that's what I was thinking of. I was thinking they did 5 unbannings, and then they added 14 cards to the Gamechangers list. I know stuff. I don't know a lot of stuff, but I know stuff.
The updates to the Gamechangers list.
Yeah. So we are going to go ahead and talk about that because, you know, that's our duty as podcasty people that talk about Magic shit. And I have feelings, I have thoughts, I have concerns. So what were the 5 cards again? I know it was Braids. Was it Braids Arisen Nightmare or Cabal Minion?
Cabal Minion.
Cabal Minion, that's right.
Arisen Nightmare was the one that was already available.
Yeah,
it's like a more toned down version.
Yeah.
So the exact ones were Gifts Ungiven. It essentially lets you search your library for a bunch of cards for 4 mana instant speed, put them into 2 piles. One goes in your hand, one goes into your graveyard.
We'll put a little image here for you guys to see.
Obviously, I didn't read it word for word, but the reason it was banned was because anytime you could put one into your hand, one into your graveyard, any deck that uses the graveyard, it's essentially they're all being put into your hand.
Yeah.
And it was instant speeds, which is another fancy way of saying that
I went on top of you. Fuck you.
It's like you don't have to worry as much about like a lot of times for card effects like that, you have to like expend the mana during your turn. If you can do it at instant speed, it means you can do it at the very last second when it's most opportune for you and most inopportune for anyone else to stop you. Right. It means you get to wait until it's safe to spend the mana on that.
Yeah.
Sway the Stars, which is 10 drop mono or 8 and 2 blue. So it's really pricey, but what it does is everyone shuffles their hand, graveyard, and permanents they own into their library. Then they draw 7 cards, and each player's life total becomes 7. So I think we can all guess why this is the kind of card that would end up being on a ban list.
Yeah, Oracle text, stop the game. Essentially. Like, it's Oracle text like, hey, are we really going to play this whole last bit out, or are we just going to call it a day?
Well, the thing is, it resets everything, but puts everyone at 7 life. And where that really becomes, I don't know if interesting is the correct word, but like unless whoever is the ability to like rush out a strategy first is definitely going to win that one.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming what it feels like is it's more of a I see no mono blue person playing that card to win. It feels more like a screw everyone else, the game isn't going my way.
And it's a sorcery, right?
Sorcery.
Yeah, so it's not like you can cast, well, I guess you could. Well, no, but that would still not work because you could cast a sorcery and then you would cast something instant speed on stop. The instant speed one would still resolve.
Yeah, the problem, unless you had a way to make it instant speed.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you can do Port upon wind, but
you would never be able to make this go off before your other cards go off. So I guess technically you could quicken it, and then
Who's got time for that
but
crap?
that's with 11 mana, and then I guess you could try to flash a bunch of things in. So you would flash your things in and then quicken this, which would allow you to shuffle everyone else's, which would allow you to essentially turn the game to turn 0 again, but with everyone at 7 life, and you're the only person with creatures on the board. But
well, no, you're included in that.
No, but I'm saying like what I would do if I was trying to like break this to like win is I would play a bunch of flash creatures, then quicken this card. And so this card would resolve first because I'm forcing it to be an instant speed card.
Mm-hmm.
And then my other creatures and stuff would resolve because it's permanence and permanence he or she owns. So until it's in play, it's a spell, not a permanent.
Yeah.
So technically, everything that's on the stack would stay on the stack until this card resolves, and then all of a sudden, all my stuff ends. But like the amount of effort I put into that, I could have also just Laboratory Maniac'd my way to victory.
I was gonna say for 11 mana, for
11 mana just for the quicken in this.
Oh yeah, no, like I said, for 11 mana in blue, there's so many other cooler things that you could do with 11 mana. Then go, oh, I'm going to reset everybody's life total to 7. At that point, you can just omniscience yourself to victory.
This is one of those cards where the only reason I could see for it to be banned is because it could cause, like I said, it would be a screw everyone else card.
Yeah.
It's unhealthy in that it's being done as like a trolly thing.
It's a spite play.
Not even spite, because Spike's trying to win.
No, spite.
Oh, spite.
Yeah, it's a spite play.
Spite play. Yeah, no, I was like, yeah, I don't see this being played or for lulz. But like, I wouldn't be upset if you played it once, but if you like cast it like 7 times in the same game, I would be. If you start recurring this card, we're gonna have.
Oh yeah, we're gonna have issues for sure.
But next one was gonna be the most controversial of them. It was Braids, the Cabal minion.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna read this one word for word.
Right.
At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player sacrifices an artifact, creature, or land. We'll get into that one later because I get the feeling there's going to be a whole conversation about that one.
Oh yeah.
And Coalition Victory, which was definitely in the top 3 or even probably top 3 of everyone's like what would be unbanned. Like this was definitely on everyone's list for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
It is a 3 and 1 of each color.
3 in Wooburg.
You win the game if you control a land of each basic land type and a creature of each color. And you can have a 5-color creature and meet those requirements too. Really important, the color has to be in the mana casting value of your creature. It cannot be in the ability. That's something a lot of people forget in Commander specifically.
Yeah.
Abilities is identity, not the creature color type.
The big difference being color identity as opposed to actual permanent color.
Yeah, so if you Golos the Tireless Pilgrim, I had a card that said counter target red spell, you could counter the Vandal Blast that's about to go off, but you cannot counter Golos the Tireless Pilgrim despite him having 1 of each color in his ability text because his creature, like his color identity might be 1 of each color, but his actual like color type is colorless.
Yeah, exactly.
And I know this sounds like a thing we shouldn't have to harp on, but in like Commander is the only format where that distinction matters.
Yeah, and realistically, you only have to have that conversation a couple times with people before they figure it out.
I just like bringing it up because in theory, I could see a lot of people going like, oh, well, like one of my favorites is, I forget the actual name because I play the promo version of it, but the Archaon the Everchosen, something of the Blossom Blade.
I don't remember the name. We'll put the picture.
Yeah, it's a 3-drop red creature with 1 of each color and its color identity. That like most creatures that cost 5 colors are going to be obviously minimum of 1 of each color.
Mm-hmm.
So I could see someone trying to like kind of cheat their, not understanding the distinction, trying to cheat the system by playing like a 3-drop creature that has an ability that has 1 of each color in it. Right. It's like that would not work.
Mm-hmm.
And Panoptic Mirror, I'm definitely going to like actually say this one too because it has a lot of text on the card.
Mm-hmm.
It has imprint X. X just means and it's you may remove an instant or sorcery card with converted mana cost of X in your hand from the game. Essentially it's exiled under this card is the way to think about it. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may copy the imprinted instant or sorcery card and play the copy without paying its mana cost. This could obviously lead to a lot of fun little combos.
Infinite junkies.
It is a powerful card, but it's one of those cards where if you get this card, like, it can create powerful moments, but we are at a point in Magic where it's definitely not like the.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even close to the most powerful thing colorless artifacts could do.
Yeah, I'll just come right out and say it. Like, all of these cards, the reason why they were unbanned is because they are highly telegraphable. Like, they're highly, highly telegraphed. Like, if you have Coalition Victory and you're trying to set that up, people know. Like, if you're like, hey, you're checking how many land types you have. You're checking that you have a creature of every color. The second that Coalition Victory hits the stack, all of the removal hate is going to hit you right in the face. And anytime that you try to do the 9-mana one, whatever the hell that was called, I don't remember.
Oh, the one for resetting the game.
Yeah. What was it called?
Sway the Stars.
Sway the Stars. There you go. For Sway the Stars, if a blue player has 9 open mana, 10 open mana, yeah. First of all, you're playing the game wrong. if your blue player has 10 open mana and you're doing nothing about it, you're playing the game wrong, and you should feel bad about that. But at the end of the game, at the end of the day, if they have 10 mana open and they tap all 10 of it for that, again, like a simple counterspell, a very simple counterspell would fix that. A very simple, okay, cool. Or in the case of Sway of the Stars, a very simple, okay, cool, we done? And then we all shuffle up and just start a new game, because that makes the most sense. But like, realistically, like, all of these cards are highly telegraphable, like Braids included. Like, if you play her, if somebody's playing her, the first thing that everyone at the table is going to do, unless it's like turn 1 through 3, is going to remove that card from the game. It's the same with Braids Arisen Nightmare. The second she hits the field, everybody's like, fuck her in particular, kill her.
Her danger in the 99 is very minimal.
Mm-hmm.
I could see someone keeping her in the 99 as a secret commander.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's going to be some very high level play at that point, because at that point you are definitely tutoring a lot, and we're putting some serious time and money into this deck.
But you're playing black, so you're already investing a lot into tutors and stuff, because you're in the best color for tutors.
Well, I'm also just saying, like, a lot of the tutors that I'm thinking of would obviously bring you, your bracket would already be high up there.
Yeah, you'd already be.
You're either high power EDH or if she's in the 99 specifically, and you're consistently planning, your consistent game plan is to slam her out as a secret. You are definitely
high 3, low 4.
At least a 4.
Like I said, high 3, low 4.
Yeah,
because I could see her being very useful in the 99.
You're putting all the possible draw and tutor you can into there to get this card.
Yeah.
And then your plan is to obviously probably do some sort of ritual or rocks to slam her out as quick as possible.
Rituals, rocks, anything you can to get her on the field.
You're trying to build a mono black lock piece. Well, I guess if she's in your 99, you could use other colors, which actually would change things up a bit.
Yeah, that's my main thing. Is I think that Braids, as far as in Commander specifically, because a lot of people, and I've heard this a lot, and I had this thought initially when I first saw it, I was like, oh man, she's going to be a harsh commander. Because turn 2, you could slam down a second swamp, slam a Dark Writ, have her on the field turn 2. Yeah. But then everybody is targeting you. So everybody still has a turn or 2 to deal with it. And realistically speaking, how much does the average counterspell cost? 2. How much does the average removal cost? 2. How much does any of that kind of thing cost? It's generally about 2. So realistically, as far as a commander is concerned, that telegraph, if you have her in your commander slot, that is a huge telegraph to say, fuck that dude in particular.
If you're playing her with the intention of slamming her out as soon as possible to lock out the game, you're either being a very poor sport, or you're playing at a play level that is going to be able to handle her. Because here's the other thing. 1-drop removal is definitely prevalent enough in the game at this point. Where no one has an excuse to not turn 1. If I see that as your commander, turn 1, you better believe I'm not mulliganing a hand with
Mhm.
a Swords to Plowshare, or hell, a lot of my red decks I started putting Lightning Bolt in, because
Yeah.
turns out 1 mana for 3 damage solves a lot of problems.
Yeah, I say that's one of the
I'm never
easiest
going to be able to
ways.
use it to kill someone typically, but what I can definitely do with it is I can remove a Braid's Cabal minion that I just happens to be
something
there.
that just hits the field, and then the second that the next phase hits, you're like, yeah.
There's a reason it's been a staple in Modern for God knows how long, and I think it's even used in Legacy still.
I think it might be still used in Legacy. I haven't kept up with that.
It was strong enough to be in Legacy.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And Legacy, for those of you who don't know, is the format you play when you feel like winning on your first turn.
Yeah.
So if
before,
and even if back in the day, even if it's not viable anymore, the fact that back in the day, a Lightning Bolt was good enough to be in Legacy.
Yeah.
In a format that is all about winning after your draw phase, essentially.
Essentially, after your first draw, it's like I win the game.
Yeah. So
surprise.
So yeah, Lightning Bolt alone, Lightning Bolt, 10-cent uncommon can just get rid of her.
Yeah. So like a lot of these unbans, the ones that have come out, I don't disagree with any one of them. I think that all of them are telegraphable enough that in the current play state of everything, there's no way you're not going to be able to deal with it.
In some cases, just so unreasonable and unwieldy to use that the person who got it off earned the victory. Yeah. And from what I understand, Coalition Victory was originally banned because people thought it was a boring way to win games. And I think they misunderstood just how boring players were willing to be to win games.
See, that's really funny and ironic considering the Dragons of Tarkir printed one that's specifically for dragons.
Yeah, no, it's...
Yeah, because, it's a boring way to win. Thanks, Dragon. Now you have 2 ways to do that.
Look, I am a aggro player at heart. And let me tell you right now, I wish that it was more realistic for me to win with aggro decks in Commander.
Yeah.
That being said, the reality is if you're playing in a pod and there's 3 other people, that's 120 life you have to chew through. Sometimes you just need a Coalition Victory to end the game.
Yeah.
And not every color is going to just smack people repeatedly for that mid-range battleship, battlecruiser style play. So I get why the original purpose of having it on there was, and the format was much older when it originally appeared on there. It is about time it got brought off of it, though. Yeah,
I think that it's a good call. Again, a lot of people felt that way. Like I said I called it, but I know that it's just been one of those things that's just like, it's time. It's time for it to come off the list because it's not really doing anything big to the game. And anytime someone throws a Coalition Victory down, either they have been so patient and so calculating that nobody has the ability to respond. At that point, you earned it, son. Okay, cool. Yeah. You get your victory. But generally, someone's going to have interaction. Counterspell, bounce spell, kill spell, anything like that. It's going to thwart that plan in a second.
If you pull off a Coalition Victory, either no one was playing enough of their vegetables in their deck, or you were able to essentially wait everyone out until everyone had kind of spent all their resources dealing with each other.
Right.
And maybe a few times on you. And it's just like, at a certain point, a win con is going to get through because everyone's kind of like spent.
Well, it's a win con. That's the whole point.
It's the jump them out strategy. Just outlast everyone.
Absolutely.
The Gifts Ungiven for me is the one that's like...
That's the one that stands out to me.
It's the least flashy.
Yeah.
Right off the bat. And if it were sorcery speed, I would have questioned it being on the list from the very get-go.
Yeah.
The fact that it is instant speed, I think is the kicker for me. I don't have a problem with it being unbanned. Because my logic would be, if we're going to keep this on the ban list, it needs a few friends added with it. I have the same feeling about Cabal, or Braid's Cabal minion. When I heard she was going to be unbanned, I was like, that's fine by me, because I'm at the point where I look at that card and then if Tergrid is going to be unbanned, I don't care if she's on the Gamechanger list. If she's just going to be unbanned, this card should be unbanned. And if you think Braid should be banned, I think Tergrid. They are like the same kind.
They feel synonymous. Yeah,
they're the same kind of toxic,
and they definitely are. Sisters in Christ in the same deck. Like they're absolutely going to be in the same deck, and you're going to.
If you're playing a Tergrid as your commander, you're playing a Cabal minion.
You're playing
in the deck
Cabal
now.
Minion. Yeah, she's in the 99 for sure now.
So And in some cases, I'm sure it's the other way around. You're playing braids and you're playing to slam her out as soon as possible with a turn grid out. Like,
yeah, exactly.
But yeah, no,
but still highly telegraphable, highly easy to do. I'm curious about Panoptic Mirror though, how that's going to affect it, because it costs a lot if you want to be able to do big things with it. But I could also see a lot of value in dropping in something that's like,
well,
hey,
no, X is just I guess to imprint something on it costs X.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, the big spells.
But I'm talking about stuff like Prosperous Innkeeper, right? Like he comes into play and you get a treasure.
And let's see.
And then its secondary ability is just tap it and then you'd get a version of, or is it just at upkeep?
At the beginning of your upkeep, you may copy an imprinted instant or sorcery card. So you can imprint multiple cards under it, but you only get one during your at the beginning of your upkeep.
Like,
so where I would see this card being like a powerful card would be doing a card that, like, for instance, lets you create. So if I was to think of a way to make this card really strong, it would be to imprint a card. I can't remember what it's called, but there's a card that lets you draw 2 cards, discard a card, create 2 treasure tokens.
Unexpected Windfall.
There we go. Imprint that underneath, and then just use that card upkeep that card a few times.
Or hell, I mean, I didn't even
add in a few drops, and then you add in the land drops and everything.
Yeah.
And suddenly, let's say I'm playing Boros, for instance. I'm just throwing out a color, but I'm just saying Boros. And now I play I can't remember the name of it. We'll put it in there when we know it, or when we can figure it out. But it's create 1/1 Flying Pegasus is equal to your life total.
Oh yeah.
It's like an 8-drop card, I think. I know it's really hard to get out, and it's in white, so it's like typically it's a 10-cent rare for a reason.
Well,
but I think I could see using Unexpected Windfall to build myself into that card, and now every upkeep I'm getting 30 plus Flying Pegasus, and it's like, you need to have a board wipe and a spot removal for that card at that point.
Yeah, and realistically speaking, more often than not, I think the reason why Panoptic Mirror isn't, and I didn't even think about it until literally just now, is for stuff like Chrome Mox. For stuff like Mox Jasper, for stuff like Mox Opal, the 0 cost artifacts.
Well, it has to be an instant or sorcery.
Oh, it has to be. Oh, well, no, I'm dumb.
But
still, either way.
But logically, think of anything that could create a mana positive situation. There are plenty of instants and sorceries that can do that. And Panoptic Mirror is a colorless card in its own right, which means you can put it in any deck. Any deck where you have powerful instants or sorceries. Any color, which they all have their own version of it. Throw that card in there. Yeah. You could World Fire every turn.
Yeah, and realistically, that's something that if you wanted to do that, you could. But again, I think
you could do that blue card every turn.
Yeah, you could do that every turn. 7 life every turn. Well, that's what you'd get it once, and then it would shuffle back into your deck.
That's fair.
But
it's guaranteed to happen at your upkeep.
Yeah, exactly. And nobody can counter it. So
and everyone just kind of has to like wait for that. Like, actually, you know what? That'd be just a fun little like clock to put everyone on.
It's like, I'm going to cast the copy without paying its mana cost.
Encourage everyone to end the game before your upkeep.
Yep. But no, I think that those cards are definitely a good call for becoming unbanned. But the other half of the whole ban list thing was that they did
what wasn't banned.
Well, what wasn't banned,
or what wasn't unbanned.
Yeah. What wasn't, well, it's not necessarily what wasn't unbanned. Well, yes, that too. The triad still remains in exile for until next year.
I'm very pro.
Which I'm so incredibly happy about.
I don't feel even a little bad.
Same.
I don't say this to be mean, but at a certain point, it's like people need to stop treating Magic the Gathering like the stock market. And I heard so many people talk about how Dockside was going to be unbanned in this upcoming thing, and his price suddenly skyrocketed again. And when he didn't get unbanned, here's the thing. I know it's going to sound mean, but if you sunk hundreds of dollars in investing in a bunch of Dockside extortionists because you thought you were going to make this big payday off of it, I even feel a little bit bad for you, because I hate to break it to you, Magic Gathering is not the stock market. And if you also are involved in the stock market, you understand sometimes you win some and you lose some. And that's part of the game.
I say this with full intention of beaming. Stop being a whiny little bitch. The cards are gone. Learn to play the game.
I just can't feel bad at a certain point because it's like you're trying to speculate in a market essentially.
Yeah, like for the most part, the community has figured it out. They're like, okay, cool. I don't have to have those cards. I can figure something else out. But there are still the 5 or 6 whiny little.
There's that one person in your life who still can't drop it.
Oh yeah, he won't let it go. But you know what? I mean,
if you spend as much as a new car on mana crypts, I don't even feel bad.
Yeah, if you have, I have 300 decks and every one of them has mana crypt. This is bull crap. You know what? You deserve.
My
to feel
answer
bad about
is.
yourself. It's like you deserve to feel bad about that. And you know what? I don't feel bad that you feel bad about it. At a certain
point, that investment needs to be something something you did for fun, not money.
Yeah, exactly. And like. If you're doing it with the intent to gain capital and to have personal gain, it's just like he said, you win some, you lose some, broski. You know what's going to be really, really expensive here in the next little bit? The Jumbo Cactuar from Final Fantasy. And that guy is fucking bonkers. Even now, after he's been released for forever, he's still going on TCG Player for $25 and the set isn't even fucking out yet. Which is hilarious, but that's a different story for a different day. Because I have a whole rant about that, so I'm gonna let that one go real quick. But what were the other ones? Because I was very happy to see it. The big 3 didn't come off.
You want to know which
list.
Ones are on
I'm
the
trying
Game
to
Changers?
remember. I'm trying to remember the Game Changers because there was a bunch of stuff that happened. Some stuff came off the Game Changers list, and other stuff came back on the Game Changers list. The one that I wasn't surprised to see come off the Game Changers list was Trouble in Pairs. Essentially, it's like, hey, it turns off extra turns. And it's like, okay, but how often are people extra turning, really? Like, really, how often is that happening? Does that have to be a game changer? Like, it doesn't really have to be.
So most of them I completely get. Mm-hmm. And for the record, I'm going to respect, even the ones I disagree with, I'm going to respect the Game Changers list.
Right. You need to be able to.
Because there's certain things about the bracket system I have my own problems with, and we went over that in our Game Changers episode, or in our bracket system episode. The new ones are, so starting with white, Humility and Teferi's Protection. I have opinions about both of those. Mm-hmm. Blue is Consecrated Sphinx, Gifts Ungiven, Intuition, Narset Parter of Veils, Sway the Stars. 2 of those we already knew about because anything that is unbanned will immediately become a game changer.
In the Game Changers list, yeah.
I would also like to point out when we were talking about that, I don't think Coalition Victory should be a game changer, but I agree with their stance that anything that gets unbanned immediately goes to the Game Changers list, and then eventually they can remove stuff from the Game Changers list.
Right.
But that is the smart way to do it. At a certain point, if you're trying to build a balanced game, you have to be a certain amount of black and white about things.
Yeah.
And you just don't make exceptions, because that's when you start making mistakes. When you think you can make these special exceptions because you think you're smart enough not to screw it up. Anyways, mono black is Braid's Cabal Minion. We already knew about Necropotence, Orcish Bowmasters. I do agree with the other 2. As a Lord of the Rings player, it does break my heart a little bit to see a Lord of the Rings card on there, but it's their fault for making it too good.
Yep.
Red, Deflecting Slot, and Gamble.
Mm-hmm.
I have opinions about Deflecting Slot or SWAT. I don't remember what Gamble does.
You go in, you look in your library for a card, you put it into your hand, then you shuffle your hand and discard a card at random. So it's a gamble.
It's a tutor with a downside.
It's a gamble.
And it's red. So this all makes sense.
Yeah, so it's a tutor in red that gives you the option to either get it in your hand or get it in your graveyard. Either way, it definitely, I feel like, deserves it because, again, you can tutor for any card in your deck, the thing that's going to win you the game, but you have the risk of losing it right at the same time.
Well, they added in all the 1-drop tutors that weren't already on the Game Changers list. Yeah. That's what it ultimately is. If it's one of the old 1-drop tutors, they added it to the Game Changers list because a lot of people brought up at the time that they seemed to be very mana identity prejudiced against which ones they chose.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, green got the most added to it,
mm-hmm.
which makes sense because everyone had the opinion that green got off the easiest.
Yeah.
And they really did. For those of you who might not know that much about Magic or who just don't know, green is arguably the strongest color in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And green-blue is the strongest color combination in on average in EDH. it on average, because green is the most spoiled color in the game. It can, so color pie thing real quick. Every color does something special that the others don't do that much of or very well. Green is the exception. Green can ramp very well. Green didn't used to draw very well, but now it can draw very, 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 very well. Mm-hmm. Green used to be not great at spot removal. Now it's good at spot removal. It's not the best because most of its spot removal depends on it having creatures in play.
Yep.
But then we switch to the next part, which is it also has a bunch of powerhouse creatures.
Yeah.
So it does everything in the game really well. The one thing it has still not had access to the best of my knowledge, there might be one or two out there that I'm completely unaware of, is to the best of my knowledge, we do not have a mono green counterspell.
Here's one.
That being said, that is where blue comes in, because the biggest downside of counterspell and counter magic in Magic is that you have to hold up mana for the possibility of stopping something, which means you're not spending that mana on proactively doing things. What being in green blue does is you get the excess of mana of green mixed with the interaction of blue. And then you add in the fact that there are a lot of green blue cards that are very, very, very powerful game enders in their own right.
You're not wrong.
So green got it off easy because originally there were only 3 cards on the green list.
I still
which
think
was
red
only beat out
one.
by red. Red being considered one of the weakest colors in Commander.
Now, I think that there could be more red cards on the Game Changers list, but I'm also not going to argue with it because red's been through some tough times recently.
Anyways, crop rotation is the first one.
Yeah.
We all know why that's there. That's the one that lets you just get ridiculous. It lets you get your key lands, and green has some really powerhouse lands.
Yeah.
Some really stupid ones.
Yeah. Gaia's Cradle, Shrine, Nykthos, Shrine to Nyx, you name it, it can get it.
Food Chain, enchantment that lets you create a bunch of mana for infinite combos.
Food Chain wins games, baby.
Natural Order, I forget at the top of the head what that one does.
It'll be right here.
Seedborn Muse,
Yeah.
It is half of the ability of Prophet of Krufix, which is a banned card in EDH.
Yeah, and it's not coming off the ban list.
Every untap step, you get to untap all your stuff. The only thing it doesn't do is let you cast your spells as though they had flash.
God, do you remember when Prophet of Krufix was in standard when we were playing?
Oh yeah.
Do you remember that? That was a wild time to be in standard.
What's funny is it wasn't even that broken of a card.
It wasn't. It was actually pretty middling.
She was way too expensive to get out in a impactful way.
And I just went mono black and just garried people to death.
I played mono blue.
Yeah, I remember.
Aggro.
I remember. You played mono blue and mono white, and both of those were fucking awful. Anyway, continue.
Then Worldly Tutor. It's the 1-drop tutor.
Worldly Tutor. Yep, it's a tutor. Yep.
That was the one that I think the most people said they didn't understand why it wasn't on there. Long story short, 1 mana, add a creature to your hand. I'm sure the Commander people were like, or if Magic.
It's a game changer.
I'm sure Magic was like, oh, well, you're just grabbing a creature. It's like, yeah, but you're playing green.
Yeah, but you're playing green, which is the best creature thing ever.
How many cards, like, just right off the top of my head, the easiest thing for me just to grab to win a game immediately, Craterhoof Behemoth. Bam. Yep, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Or Triumph of the Hordes. It's a Craterhoof Behemoth by a different name, essentially.
Craterhoof Behemoth with Infect.
I'm sorry, but no matter what, 1 mana to grab, or I guess that's not a creature though.
No, that's an instant.
But still, the amount of creatures that are powerful that I could grab right on my deck. I'm sorry, I'm in green. Dude, I have some powerhouses.
There's so many good.
I have game enders.
Yeah,
just don't let it should have been on Game Changers. Mm-hmm. If the 1-drop tutor for a freaking enchantment is banned, the one that grabs me creatures should be.
Yeah.
Multicolor, Aura Shards, Coalition Victory, Notion Thief have been added. Notion Thief makes sense. It's a very powerful steal your opponent's stuff card. Coalition Victory, we just went over it. It's the one I don't think should be on. It's the one I don't think should be on there, but I agree with the decision of putting it on Game Changers.
It's a
because their rule makes sense.
Yeah, it's a process.
And then I forget what Aura Shards does. I apologize.
Aura Shards, essentially every time you cast an enchantment spell, or no, it's every time you cast a creature spell, I think, or you cast some kind of spell and it destroys target enchantment. So basically shuts down Aura decks instant speed.
Well, I could see it just shutting out a lot of things.
We'll put it right here so that way we can get the verbiage right.
If casting stuff lets you destroy stuff like that that frequently, especially if it's easy to get out, then okay, this makes sense now.
Yeah.
Field of the Dead and Colorless, Mishra's Workshop, and Panoptic Mare are all the new colorless ones.
What about the black ones? Did we get any new black ones?
Did I go over that one already?
I don't know.
Yeah, I did. Necropotence, Orcish Bowmasters were the two.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
Cabal.
We went through those pretty quickly. Yeah,
those were the easiest ones to go over because we all know why they're there.
Yeah, we know why they're there. It's not a big deal.
The ones I personally have opinions on will be my biggest opinions are on Deflecting Swat, Teferi's Protection. Yeah, those are my two ones. I can kind of see Humility, but I also just
I get why Humility's on there.
That's the one where everyone's power and toughness comes 1/1.
Yeah.
We have cards like that.
Yeah, Mahad's Feathers Knight.
Like we already have cards that do stuff like that. I'm sorry, it's not that good.
Like, well, I can understand why they want it for Humility specifically.
Well, what it does is what it's doing is it's evening the playing field against the green player who's got this big stompy field.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if the green player has that many creatures in play, a single Crater Hoof Behemoth away from ending the game, it's just
if your creatures are 1/1.
if your Humility does not really stop you from winning games stop people from winning games anymore if they're really going like the battle cruiser style method a lot of times. But I get it. Teferi's Protection is the one I have the biggest opinion about. I get why it's on there.
Yeah.
But I disagree with their reasoning.
Why do you disagree with the reasoning?
So most game changers are on the list because they change the game state in a way that is just it changes the game. Like it's in the title. Teferi's Protection only stops your game state from getting changed.
Yeah.
So by that logic, shouldn't every 2-drop powerful counterspell be on here?
Well, I mean, I don't disagree with you there, but I think that the reason why Teferi's Protection is so good is because it does change the game state in a way when people will go and play big spells and do big things, and then you thwart them and it skews the game where it would have skewed it in one direction. It skewed it into another. And I think that it's really hard.
But I could accomplish the same concept with a fog.
I mean, you're not wrong. I don't think that you're wrong, but fog specifically is combat damage. Teferi's Protection it stops a lot of different methods of removal.
So the thing is, Teferi's Protection allows the game to, instead of stall out, actually end.
Right. No, I agree with you.
That's where I disagree with putting out the Game Changers list is now, if I want to play I guess most people's decks are going to be 3s at this point anyways, because the Game Changers list is just growing and growing and growing.
Right.
That being said, I like having I do not feel like there's anything inherently wrong having a card that simply stops me from being put in the same horrible situation as everyone else.
Well,
and a lot of times Teferi's Protection doesn't even win me a game. It just stops me from losing a game.
Right. Exactly. Well, take into consideration Teferi's Protection with the new blue spell, the 10-drop, the something of stars. I keep forgetting the name. But when you go and you say, hey,
if you're a blue-white player and you have 13 mana.
Yeah. Again, there's a lot of different ways that you can do that, but you don't have to be a blue-white player. If somebody else plays that, and then you can Teferi's Protection your entire field, your whole field phases out. It's as though it doesn't exist on the field.
Agreed. I had to react to a very powerful card.
Exactly.
I would see that no different than if I counterspelled it. The only difference is instead of a parrot. So here's what it does. A lot of the cards that it's really good against are trying to create parity. Essentially, they're trying to make a level playing field for everyone.
Right.
What that means is we're setting the game back. We're not progressing the game. We're making it take longer and setting it back. What Teferi's Protection does is it lets me hold it up either to not die, but if I'm skilled / lucky enough, it allows me to use it as a parity breaker. Everyone else has been brought to parity, but I'm not.
Right.
But it does wholly rely on other. Well, in theory, I could board wipe and then Teferi's Protection.
Yeah.
But typically, what I wouldn't do that if I had Teferi's Protection, because screw that. I don't want to waste my board wipe for that very particular scenario. I'd rather you waste your board wipe.
Exactly.
So what it does is instead of creating longer games, it allows games to actually end. And again, my argument would be if you're like, well, it's unsatisfying, I would argue, okay, I get really unsatisfied when I'm going into a big play and someone grabs a 2-drop counter spell that just kind of like snuffs it out. It's like everyone gets kind of disappointed when the wind gets taken out of their sails.
Yeah.
There's like, I'm sorry, this is Magic the Gathering. It's always going to happen. Eventually, we're going to have a very big ban list if we're just trying to stop that.
Right. But I think that the reason why it's a game changer is because, like you said, it is a parity breaker. A parity breaker is almost by definition a game changer. If it breaks parity and allows somebody to win the game, that changes the game.
But my point is it's so reactive.
No,
That's
it's very
difference.
reactive. I don't disagree with you.
It's so reactive to the point where I was unable to, unless, again, I had a huge combo setup, in which case this was not even the closest to the meanest thing I could do.
Right.
What it's doing is it's simply stopping. I am not creating an unhealthy game state. I am ending the game. And I would argue that a game ending because someone Teferi's Protection and then was able to win the game off of that is far more satisfying than a game that someone else won, but we had like 5 board wipes happen and some spot removal, and the game just kept going and going and going and going.
Right.
Teferi's Protection allows the game to actually end and progress.
Right.
But it will only accomplish that scenario if I am already in a position where the only reason I'm not winning is because everyone else is also in a good position.
Right.
And that's the key factor. Teferi's Protection alone, and I'm not even, I get a lot of cards are like combo pieces, but Teferi's Protection requires a certain amount of board state to the point where in and of itself is such a small factor in that.
Right.
And that's where.
Well,
and if
the same could be said for Cyclonic Rift.
Well, I mean, I disagree because Cyclonic Rift is not proactive. Or if Cyclonic Rift is proactive.
No, it's reactive.
No. You could easily use that during your own turn to win a game.
No, you could use it during your own turn to win a game. You could absolutely do it, but it's also mainly used reactively.
Cyclonic Rift is a one-sided board wipe, whereas Teferi's Protection can turn a board wipe into a one-sided board wipe. There's the difference. Cyclonic Rift is already the thing you're worried about, but Teferi's Protection requires the extra pieces to be there.
I mean, I get it, but I feel like the two of them are synonymous. And I very strongly
also, Cyclonic Rift is a board wipe that happens at instant speed that ignores everything from hexproof to indestructible. And again, much bigger deal.
No, I still feel like they're the same. I feel like they're very much the same because, again, you could Psych Rift and then you can Teferi's Protection your way out of a Psych Rift.
I mean, but again, all the Teferi's Protection did was stop me from losing my board. The Cyclonic Rift at instant speed is a 5 mana instant speed?
It's at 7 mana.
Oh, 7 mana. Okay. 7 mana, but at instant speed, but it also just upheaved
the entire board, yeah.
It's the fact that it's instant speed.
Yeah.
If it was not instant speed, I would agree with you more.
I guess we're just going to have to agree to disagree on that because I feel like the two of them are very, very similar. And I feel like that Cyclonic Rift is like, again, maybe I'm doing the hot take here. You guys can tell me if I am or not in the comments, but Cyclonic Rift absolutely deserves to be on the Game Changers list. And if it comes off the Game Changers list, I'm going to be very shocked.
Oh, no, I agree with Cyclonic Rift being on the Game Changers. No, I'm 100% for it being on the Game Changers list. I think they're in two different camps.
I just feel
I'm not taking away your toys with Teferi's Protection.
Yeah, you're not necessarily taking away my toys.
Upending everything you were doing.
Yeah, you're not necessarily taking away my toys, but the next turn, if I'm part of that board wipe, you're taking away my game state. The state of the game is changing, ergo game changer.
And actually, I have a better way of putting it. Cyclonic Rift, in a lot of cases, I very rarely have anyone win the game because they're Cyclonic Rift. They don't win the game like that next turn. Whereas Teferi's Protection is a reason games have ended.
Yeah.
Cyclonic Rift, whenever it gets used, in my personal experience, I guess personal experience, all it did was prolong the game. The Cyclonic Rift was not used because the blue player, anyone playing it, I guess, was going for the win the next turn. They did not use it so that the board would be empty so they could swing for game.
Right.
It has always been used as a screw you, don't hit me.
I've used it to win games.
That's why I'm saying I've never seen it used in that.
I've seen it used that way, but again, I think agree to disagree. We've been on this point for
deflecting SWAT is the next one.
Yeah,
that I have strong opinions about. I'm just redirecting a spell and it's free if my commander's out.
Free spells should be on the Game Changers list.
You think all free spells should
be on the Game Changers list? Force of Will, Deflecting SWAT, Deadly Rollick, the whole nine. Anything that says, oh, you get to cast a spell for free if X. Fuck that.
But
free spells
if
are game
X is
changers.
part of the requirement, then it does have a cost.
It's like, fuck your free spells. It deserves to be on the game changers list. If you're playing in a place where you're aiming for free interaction, you are playing at a level where it deserves to be listed as a game changer. You are not playing casual if you're playing Force of Will. You are not playing casual if you're playing deflecting SWAT. You are not playing casual if you are playing, oh god, the blue one, the free counter spell if you control a commander. It's there. That's where it is. Free interaction should be a game changer. Fight me. Like that's all I'm saying. If it's free interaction, it should be on the game changers list.
I would be okay with that stance if it were actually that was what was happening. I got news for you. Blacks, Deadly Rollick, not on the game changers.
Well, and that's my hot take.
Greens is not on the game changers.
Again, my hot take is all
actually. So here, I guess that's what it comes down to: is I would be okay with your stance in the event that was just, do you have a way to make this free? And I would actually argue that Force of Will is not free, but that's its own conversation.
Yeah, that's a different conversation.
But
I just hate Force of Will. Fuck that card.
I mean,
anyway,
that's fine. There's a reason it's notorious.
Yeah,
but I would be okay with it if that was just what we were doing. Any card that becomes free when your commander is out,
yeah,
I'd be okay with that rule being every one of those cards in the game changers. But just like the Worldly Tutor situation, we are picking and choosing which ones. And I would argue Deadly Rollick is worse than Deflecting SWAT.
Yeah, I think Deadly Rollick is objectively worse. Deflecting SWAT and Fierce Guardianship. That was the name.
Is that the white one?
That's the blue one. Fierce Guardianship is free counter spell if you control commander.
Deadly Rollick is exile target permanent if I control my commander. And that is any time you get to exile a permanent, that is powerful.
Yeah.
And it being free and instant speed on top of everything else is also powerful.
Yeah.
And I would argue that's more powerful than the Deflecting SWAT, because again, the Deflecting SWAT is me protecting one of my things probably, because anything that's board wipeable,
right,
it doesn't fix.
It just thwarts targeted removal.
Literally the only thing I can think of that it saves like someone like me from, like a like board ability that would save me from, is I could, Deflecting SWAT can only stop something that targets, right?
Yeah.
Oh, so it wouldn't even work against the Teferi's protection.
No.
I was going to say the worst thing I think I could do with it is steal your Teferi's protection, but no, you can't even do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, Deflecting SWAT only stops targeted removal, or a targeting card, which means chances are it's being used to stop you from removing my commander, or maybe a card with X in its cost that hits me for 1,000,000 damage. Like, realistically, the card only functions if there's something to react to. And in Magic, it's typically bad to be the reactive player.
No, I agree.
It's not always, but like when we start punishing the player who just needs to go, oh, please don't hit me, is when I start going, but like...
Again, my stance on the matter, and this is just my stance in general, free interaction is not considered low power.
And that is fine. That is not what they are doing.
No, that's not what they're doing. And that's the reason why my opinion on that whole scenario is that Deadly Rollick, Fierce Guardianship, and Deflecting SWAT being on the list is great. Now put the rest of them on there. Put the other ones on there. I don't fucking want them.
Right away, I would be okay with it if we did that.
Yeah.
It's the same way, actually, another one would be, I would be more okay with the Teferi's protection on... I mean, I actually wouldn't be okay with it. I still think it would be bullcrap. But there's a bunch of cards like Teferi protection that exist. There's one that with Convoke is essentially free.
Yeah.
And are we going to tell me that one shouldn't be on there?
Well, realistically speaking, you have to, when to do Convoke, you have to tap target permanent. You have to tap your permanents.
Yes, which means you have to have permanents in play to use.
But no, we're talking about completely free interaction.
No, I understand that, but so completely free does not count if your commander has to be in play, just like Convoke.
It's a condition, but there's no cost. So Convoke is a casting cost. It's an alternate casting cost.
I guess, yeah. Let's me use my creatures as mana dorks.
Precisely.
Regardless, but that wasn't even the part I was bringing up. The free part. It was more of the I could achieve the same results with breaking parity with that card, and it's not on here. So it's like at a certain point, it's like we choose, and it's a powerful one on top of that. If it was like 8 mana, and I was like bitching about this, and there were no, even if it was Convoke with 8 mana, it'd be different.
Yeah.
This is a 5-drop instant speed with Convoke in white.
Mhm.
I could very easily meet
Very
those conditions very quickly.
Right.
And so that's where I'm just like, at a certain point, we're doing the name of Teferi's Protection, I feel like, is what has gotten it on here. Every deck that has white in it has an excuse to play a Teferi's Protection.
Yeah, because it's
and
a good
I think
spell.
that's what it is. And I'd be willing to hear the argument of let's put anything that is just an auto include on the Game Changers list.
I don't disagree.
I would be willing to hear that argument, because then we are definitely reaching a point of maybe it's a power issue. But
yeah, but this is just my personal opinion on that particular series of spells. That particular series of spells that says if you control your commander, this spell can be cast for free. Fuck them spells. Get them out of here. I hate the fact that because I've had it happen to me once. There was a player who I was playing with the first time I dealt with partners ever, and he said it was a high power commander deck. He's trying to take it CDH. I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. First turn, he plays Rograk, the 0-drop commander card. Obviously, one of the greatest commander cards.
That's the Kobold, right?
Yeah, it's
the
a
0/3, but he has trample and
0/3 trample, blah 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 blah. But the main thing is he has a zero casting.
So you have to
cost.
add into him to make him powerful.
So you play him for free. No issues, no problem. Because he was playing Rograk and he was playing, I forget the other one.
Was it the blue-red guy?
No, it wasn't Crom. It was Thrasios. It was Rogthras. That's what he was playing.
Oh, it was the white, black, red.
No, it was the blue green.
Blue green. Okay, sorry.
Blue
Hard
green.
to keep track of them sometimes.
But Rograk, he just plays for free first turn. So first turn, I go in, I cast a bunch of spells, I do my thing. We get a couple rounds in, and he's still got Rograk on the field. Rograk hasn't done anything. He hasn't attacked. He hasn't done anything. He's just been chilling there. And I'm like, okay, well, it's not a threat. And then I go to play a spell that I really needed to go off, and he just Fierce Guardianship me. Just for free. He is tapped out. I had no clue that he had that in hand. I had no way of telegraphing that he had that in hand. The fact that he can tap himself out completely and bait out a spell from me, fuck that. Fuck that shit. Sorry. I hate it. If my opponent can be completely tapped out, and I say, cool, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pay X into Bane or Balefire or whatever it is, or Banefire, and I'm going to deal 7 damage to your commander because I want to exile it. I want to get it off the field, and I want to make sure that it's no longer a thing. And that dude's being completely tapped out says, deflecting swat, you're going to hit your own commander. There was no way I could have known. If he had held up mana, if he had any other way to do it, I would have been fine. You know what? That was my bad. That was my misread. There's no way to misread that situation.
And your problem isn't the existence of that level of play. It's that
exactly at that level of play, if you're expecting that, that's fine. But if you are playing free interaction, you are not playing low level play. You are playing like a dick, and fuck you.
I mean, you're not playing it. I mean, the guy was nice enough to tell you.
He did tell me, and I knew that, but I also was not prepared for free interaction. I was not prepared for free interaction. I knew it was going to be a hard game. I knew he was going to combo out. I knew stuff was going to go down. I wanted to see what happened. But the fact that I was able to go in and I was able to cast my spell, and it was going to make a big change in the way that my game went, the rest of my game went.
And he stopped it.
And he stopped it, not just stopped it for free. I had no way to interact with it. It'd be different
if his commander was
hey,
already a 0-drop on top of that.
Exactly. And that is a 100% free interaction. And for me,
in that scenario, yeah.
Even if you have a 2-drop commander, the fact that turn 2 you can be tapped out and your opponent goes, okay, cool, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to play an Arcane Signet, and they've been, or like let's say even turn 5, they've been sitting on 2 lands. Some guy finally draws an Arcane Signet. Fuck yeah, got an Arcane Signet. Pay 2. This dude's tapped out and he throws a fucking Fierce Guardianship and counters your spell. Like the fact that you can do that is a bullshit thing to do.
I mean, that would just seem poor sportsman at that point.
Absolutely.
But I get the point you're going for.
But the point is that if you have a spell that is free, if you have a spell that you can play for free 100% of the time because getting your commander on the field is not hard, that's not okay. I don't like it. I think it should be a game changer, and you should, going to a certain point, once you get to a certain level of game, I don't think that those spells should be allowed until bracket 4.
And it's not that this person you dislike for doing it because he was honest.
Mm-hmm.
You just dislike that level of play personally.
That not necessarily that level of play, but Not necessarily that level of play, but
You think that level of play should be at a certain point?
yeah, at a certain level, that level of play should be allowed. Like I said, I think that free interaction should start at bracket 4 and 5, and that's it.
I can agree with, again, I will agree that free interaction should be on all in the Game Changers list.
Mm-hmm.
My problem is that we aren't doing that.
I agree. I think that's one of the big things that I would like to see changed.
It feels like what they did is they went, oh, there's only 2 cards on the red Game Changers.
Mm-hmm.
And they needed to find an excuse to find more, and they just picked Deflecting Swat. That's where my problem comes in.
Yeah.
It feels like they were trying to meet a quota. You have proposed a very good argument, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I, even if I don't think Deflecting Swat is that bad, would agree that being free interaction, we should just have a blanket, like,
a blanket rule.
A blanket rule, it should all be on there. Just like how any sort of mass land denial immediately makes you bracket 4.
Yeah.
Not even bracket 3. Bracket 4. You are immediately CEDH. And for the record, any CEDH player knows mass land destruction is not viable in CEDH.
Yeah.
So we've essentially said the only time you're allowed to use this strategy is when it's not viable.
Right.
But we're and when we could have done something healthy for the game, like say all free interaction is on the Game Changers.
Yeah.
List. And I would agree with that. This feels like they have said in the very article the very article that I'm using to reference this, they also did say that they're trying to take things slow and not mess with anything too much. They are willing to make emergency bans if necessary, but they've made it very clear that they don't want to do anything with the Game Changers list or the ban list until next year. Yeah. Personally, I don't like that. I'm not saying they should do something every month. I do think that is too much, but it is their obligation to be proactive and think about the shit they do. And they're not doing that. It feels like they're meeting a quota. And I also think they're trying not to upset players because the last big ban created such waves. But I feel like that says more about the community than it does about the game.
Yeah.
And that's sad and shouldn't be the case, but it is.
Yeah.
And the sad thing is it's rewarding that behavior.
Yeah.
I feel like that's part of it too, is we, instead of doing what we should do for the game, we're taking things easy because we're afraid. We're handling people with kid gloves. It just reminds me of, it's really off topic. It reminds me of the South Park episode about Family Guy, where it's like, Bart's like, oh, you're gonna threaten people to get your way? Isn't that like terrorism? No, it is terrorism.
No, actually, that is terrorism. Yeah.
Like we terrorized a panel of judges, and now we're in this hole. It feels like. And
thanks, guys. Thanks for that.
Yeah. No.
But anyway, I don't necessarily think that this is the wrong way to go about it, to say, hey, we're not doing anything until next year. At least they're being upfront about it. Yeah. It's kind of a shit way to go about it, but at the same time, like, I understand where they're coming from. Like, it's like, hey, listen, we're not going to give anybody false hope. We're not going to say, oh yeah, we're going to review this every time a set comes out and we're going to make some changes and then doing fucking nothing. I would rather than be very upfront with you and say, hey, listen, we've made these changes. There's been a lot of changes. Let's let this bitch shake out and see what happens.
No, what I'm saying is they need to do the thing you just said, where you're like, free interaction should all be on here.
Yeah, I agree.
Wham, bam, thank you. Like, that's what I'm asking for. I'm not asking for them to review everything all the time. I'm asking them to, instead of, again, it really does feel like they're trying to meet a quota with this. It really feels like Deflecting SWAT was picked on. You have a very valid reason why it should be on there.
Yeah.
They seem to have just put it on there because Red only had 2 game changers.
And the thing that sucks is that 3 out of 5 free interactions are already on there. Like, the fact that it's 3 out of 5, once they said, hey, we're going to throw Deflecting SWAT on there, somebody should have gone, hang on a second.
I haven't run out of fingers on this hand yet.
Hang on a second. That's most of my fingers. There's only 5 colors, and that's most of them.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that's the thing. But again, this is a process. It's
like the argument that anything with partner should be on the Game Changers list. I've heard that argument. And I mean, I'm not saying I agree with it.
That's a hot take, bud.
That's not my argument.
Oh, no, someone else. I know it's not your argument, but that's, I'm just thinking about it, like, that's a hot take.
The person who said it, I do feel like was persuasive in their case. I would want to hear a counter case because it's really easy for when you hear something from one side to be convinced of something.
Yeah, I don't necessarily hate the idea of being like, hey, all partner commanders need to. But then again, there are also some partners commanders that came out for Commander Legends who are just balls. Like just balls bad.
Like bad, yeah.
Like super, super bad. Like the one that's the what's called Prismatic Companion, something, I think. We'll put it up here. But it's a colorless partner. And it's like, pick a color. You can have that color in your commander's color identity. Okay, why don't I just pick something from that fucking color? Like,
well, because it wouldn't have partner
sealed, it would have made sense.
Wait, well, does it? If you get to pick it, I guess it would let you change out the deck regularly.
It is a colorless shapeshifter for 3 colorless. That's like, hey, you can choose any color you want for your commander's color identity.
I would enjoy it for one reason. It would let me regularly just change out cards in a deck for fun.
Yeah, I could see that, but
it would allow me to play Crom without, because Crom I've had in my Santa Claus deck for a long time. Mm-hmm. I took him out because he didn't really fit, but I've always wanted to build a commander deck around him. And as I was looking up how to build a commander deck around him, is when I found out that he's Siege.
Yeah, Tim Crom is,
and I didn't know
gross.
that. Personally, the reason I liked him was simply because he's saying if other people are getting hit, I get cards, and that makes me happy.
Yeah.
Just
Merry fucking Christmas.
Yeah, it was one of those things where it's like I haven't yet, specifically because I realized, oh, well, no matter what, you can't. It's hard to play this card without being a dick.
Yeah.
I've thought about playing him without a partner, just so I can be like, I'm playing it for the love of the guy,
for the love of the character, not for the.
It feels like It feels like less judgment can come my way if he's the only one. And if you go, well, you're wasting his potential, I'd be like, well, I 100% agree, but I'm trying to have a fun game here.
Like that's kind of the fucking point. Man.
But anyways, that would be a way for me to do the Crom thing with adding one more fun color.
Right.
To just have fun.
I could see it, but like all partners being, like I said, that's a real hot take for me, because I had partner commanders. I have a few partners commanders that I play actively. I just recently made some changes out for my human ally reanimator partner deck, and it's Abzan. So I just have the 3 colors in there, and I just swapped out the commanders. But before, it was Wernog and Othelm, which were Friends Forever. And they have their little version of Friends Forever, but it would essentially be synonymous with partner. Mm-hmm. But then I changed it out for 2 others that are partners that do synergize pretty well together, but I wouldn't necessarily call them game changer material. But I could also see the argument being made, because there's so many different ways that you can go, because you could do Crom and one of the ones that I was using. You know, Rograk Crom, it'd be kind of a waste because Rograk's red and Crom is red-blue.
Well, I think at that point, if I was playing that combo, it'd be for the aggro potential of it all.
Yeah, it would be for the aggro potential. And
I'm
also
in blue-red, so I have the violence and now the card draw.
I'm saying, if you're already in the Game Changers that deep anyway, you might as well play the free interaction and just go hard on it, right?
Yeah,
because Rograk is 0, and you can get free interaction out of that. But
the thing is, and that's the problem with partner, is the amount of flexibility it has. Mm-hmm. And at a certain point, it's easier to say they're all on the Game Changers list than try to police when it is okay and isn't. Because here's the thing about partner. Mm-hmm. There is a partner combination out there that right now that isn't good, that 5 sets from now could be very, very, very good.
Exactly.
And there's the problem with the partner combination. Mm-hmm. Partner is on there's a big 5 list. Mm-hmm. And it's companion, partner, storm. There's a few of them where they are mechanics that they feel like it was a mistake to make.
Partner, I can see that.
One of the big Magic creators, he has partner on the same list as companion of, we shouldn't have made this.
Yeah.
It was a mistake to create this mechanic. It was neat at the time. It wasn't a bad thing until it was. Oopsie poopsie are bad.
Yeah.
So.
And there's a reason that companion commanders and partner commanders are so prevalent in the highest end of commander, because they're just, the combinations that you can make are just endless, and it's so much value.
But I could also see the argument be made that just because something can be a CEDH commander doesn't mean it is. Because I didn't know this personally, because for those who don't know, when we started playing Magic was over a decade ago.
Yeah.
And back then, Tarmogoyf was the modern deck.
It was the premier card, dude.
So I didn't know this, and I never would have bet this personally, especially with how much people discounted her at first. Disa the Restless, the one that makes Goyf's tokens, apparently she's CEDH.
Really?
I haven't watched the videos. I sadly don't get to watch a lot of videos like that because I work for a living.
Yeah.
But I saw a few videos where it was like CEDH gameplay and it lists all the commanders. And Disa the Restless was on more than one of them. And I was like,
interesting.
She's a 6-drop? 5 or 6 drop.
She's like a 5-drop, I think.
5-drop. Yeah. She's a 5-drop? I mean, her ability's fun. Like, there's a reason I enjoy playing her, but like, I had to like really try to make her work. And even then, she's just good. She's not even like, she's not one of my top commander decks. She is like mid as far as my decks go. And it's just like, interesting. I kind of, part of me does want to look up why.
I mean, you can take a look into it and find out why, but realistically, Jund Good stuff is just Jund Good stuff.
But it's her specifically being the one that people pick is interesting to me.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's why I point out though, it's like, I guarantee you the reason she's CEDH has nothing to do with just her.
No. There's her in combination.
There are going to be other cards that interact with her in a way that allows it to be the case.
Yeah.
Damn, we've been talking a while.
Yeah, we really have. But realistically speaking, like all things considered, ban cards are going in a direction, or ban cards have been removed, which is great. I'm looking forward to getting, to try out Coalition Victory and see if I can try some stuff out with it. But all in, I think that's kind of our feelings and our opinions on that list. I think that realistically, the list is pretty sound. The Game Changers list has been adjusted and it's going to continue to change. And, it's our job as players to just roll with it, see how things go and go hope and pray for the best.
Have you ever had a thought that just appeared in your head?
Yep.
We don't have time to discuss it, but it just popped into my head.
Mm-hmm.
The bracket system should be changed to all Game Changers are CEDH and anything under it is casual. That should be the bracket system.
That should be a whole fucking topic that we have. We should talk about that like in depth, but
we'll stop with this 5 brackets.
Yeah,
give me 2.
Give me 2 of them. CDH, not CDH. We'll do that in a whole separate thing. But either way, I think that the Game Changers list being changed and having the ban cards coming off the ban list, I mean, it was just a matter of time at this point. Yeah. And now we're just going to kind of have to see how it pans out, see how everything shakes out. Hope and pray for the best.
Hashtag unban Grizzlebrand.
Unban Grizzlebrand. That dude is never going to get unbanned.
Let him out of the hell vault.
No, he will stay there forever. All right, kids. Well, it's been a blast. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you guys want to hear more from us, feel free to talk to us down in the comments. We're more than happy to hear from any of you. Go ahead and look for us on Spotify for future episodes, and feel free to subscribe to the YouTube channel. No experts allowed. And we will catch you guys on the flip side.
And don't forget, all words are made up words.